happening here in Michigan. We've been talking about this in just moments. Folks are headed to the Capitol for a Let Freedom Ring rally. There are going to be several speakers, several of which you've heard right here on this radio station. Christina Karamos, Michigan candidate for Michigan Secretary of State. She was here yesterday. Talked about what she saw down in Arizona with that audit take place down there. Talked about what she saw at the TCF Center. Some startling revelations. Former Michigan State Senator Patrick Colbeck, who we've been talking to along the way. But on the phone with us right now is Antrim County Attorney Matt DePerno, who's joining us, going to be speaking there as well. Over 7,000 signed affidavits. They're demanding folks in Michigan, the legislature, have a statewide audit and take a look at the evidence. Get in and look at what happened over the 2020 election and see what's underneath the hood. Matt, we appreciate you being here with us today. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me on, Justin.
This is 7,000. This is a big number. And by the way, I keep hearing about it. It might even be more by the time it's all said and done with. The number kept growing here recently over the last several days, the last week. I think people kept finding out, we can do this. The word was starting to get out. So, the number, this is probably just a small fraction of how many folks here in Michigan would like to see answers here.
Well, I think it is, and I think it is a big number, certainly over 7,000 affidavits. Remember, they only did about 150 affidavits in Arizona in order to get the ball rolling out there. Now, I'll admit they have a friendlier Republican Senate out in Arizona than we have in Michigan. Our senators here in Michigan have been very hostile to our efforts, but we even see them starting to move in the right direction. It's been a lot of work to get them there, but you see Mike Shirkey just yesterday come out and say that he's watching very closely what's happening in Arizona.
Any of those folks take a trip down to Arizona yet, or have you heard any of that?
No, none of them have taken a trip to Arizona, and they haven't wanted to because what I've heard is that they don't want to see what's out there, because if they see the actual evidence, they can no longer say they haven't seen the evidence. So that's important. So that's one of the reasons they're not going to Arizona, but they're not going to be able to avoid what's coming, in my opinion, when actual information comes out of Arizona. And these legislatures across the country, including Michigan, are going to have to be prepared for what's coming out of Arizona.
Yeah, what's the timeline on that? When do we expect them to have that wrapped up and have some results from Arizona?
Well, I think we should see some results by the end of next week, if not sooner. They should be counting actually all the physical ballots by then. But we're going to see a lot of problems, in my opinion. Now, I don't know what we're going to see, but my guess, based on what we've seen in Michigan and really what we've seen in Antrim County, and if we extrapolate that, we're going to find that there's missing ballots. We're going to find ballots that are not the correct type of ballots, filled out by computers, not folded in the correct spot for absentee ballots, printed on the wrong paper. They're going to find a lot of problems out there, is what I expect.
Attorney for Antrim County lawsuit and the plaintiff, Bill Bailey, Matt DePerno, is on the phone with us right now. Matt, we appreciate you being here with us. Looking at this whole situation, the more we hear about it, I think the more some of the news about what you found and discovered it during your lawsuit continues to come out. People, they really want to see, the folks here in Michigan take this seriously and take a look at it. We've got 7,000 affidavits, as you mentioned. This is a pretty positive sign, a step in the right direction. Who will these be delivered to? Who is going to be put on notice? And who in the Michigan legislature will know now that the folks in Michigan want this done?
Yeah, sure. There's going to be 7,000 affidavits, and the way we set this up is people would sign an affidavit, make 13 copies of it, and deliver it to 13 different people, and those would be Mike Shirkey, the Senate Majority Leader, then the Democrat Majority Leader, and then the House Majority Leader, the House Minority Leader, and then also Senator Ed McBroom and Senator Bizon, who have been the two people really trying to hide the evidence from coming out. They are the people who are in charge of the oversight committee, and they've spoken out most vigorously against our efforts. And then also delivered to the governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, and Supreme Court justices as well.
So 7,000. What's the next step, and how can people help out and get involved? Because you in a very short amount of time were able to get together 7,000 people who stood up and said, "Hey, we need answers here."
Yeah, people can still go to my website, and the affidavit is on the website. People can download it. It's dpernolaw.com. And today is not the last day that people can do this. They can continue to download that affidavit, fill it out, get it notarized, and send it in, even after today and continuing. We want as many people as possible to send that into the state legislature as possible, so that they know that people are serious about that. And it's important because they're serious enough to go out, print off an affidavit, sign it, get it notarized, make copies, and send in actual physical paper to these legislatures. It's not an email. It's not something they can take and put into a folder and then delete and say they never got. This is actual physical paper they're going to have to do something with. So it's pretty important. 7,000 is a big number.
Hey, if you're watching this right now on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching it, make sure you click share on this so we can get the word out, because this is not probably something that will be covered by local media. And if it is, we kind of know how that story goes. It's already written. It's a lot of, well, these folks are making false claims and without evidence, and they want to see the former president put back in office. And really, the truth and reality is, folks here are just asking for answers. They want to know the truth. What happened in the 2020 election? They want an audit done. And I don't think that's unreasonable at all. But you know, we're really not going to hear that if it is reported by the local media. Have you heard from any of these folks that maybe plan to be there or will be covering this today?
Well, we certainly hope they do. We've been invited media. You know, we hope the Detroit Free Press comes out. We hope the news comes out, the MLive. We want them to come out and cover this and cover it fairly. And we want to speak up for people all across the state who want an audit done also. They want their vote count. You know, Proverbs 31:8 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, and ensure justice for those being crushed." And that's what we're trying to do. We want to speak up for all the people across the state, and these 7,000 affidavits is the first step in doing that.
Antrim County Attorney Matt DePerno, I know you've listed, people often talk about the evidence and what's out there. You've got a long list of it on your website. So the thing that you've actually discovered during the lawsuit, what is the thing you think is the most damning out of all of it, the thing that it concerns you the most out of all the evidence you've taken a look at?
Well, we've put out 18 reports so far, expert reports. But if you're asking me what's the most important, it has to be the report that we put out where we show the actual way that the votes were moved in Antrim County. We put out several reports talking about the vulnerabilities of the voting system and how they can be manipulated. But when we put out the report showing actually what happened in Antrim County and how the votes moved from Jorgensen to Trump and Trump to Biden, and then Biden to an undervote, and explained through the coding how the election was subverted, that was the most important report probably so far, because it details not what could happen, but it details what actually happened in that county. And it shows a real subversion of the election. It shows a real fraud. And people have to wake up and understand that that actually happened in that county. And if you extrapolate that across the rest of the state, we can tell you the way the system works across the entire state. There's most likely would have been subversion across the entire state.
Matt, I'm not, anytime I say this, I'm not necessarily discrediting what you're saying, but oftentimes we hear from elected officials there's no evidence, or none of these things are worth taking a look at. One of the things we know for a fact, and I'll just preface the next question I'm going to ask you is we know the Michigan Secretary of State, a judge said she broke the law when it came to absentee ballot signatures. Is that not enough in itself? Say that maybe we should take a look at what happened here in Michigan as full statewide audit.
Oh, absolutely. Just that one decision out of the Court of Claims should have woken people up. She violated the law regarding the absentee ballot signatures. There's no doubt. But what we find in our current society is it's never enough. It's not 18 reports that we need. It's going to be 25. And when we put out 25, it'll be 35 that's needed. So the goalpost will always move, and there's always going to be people out there for political reasons who don't want to do an audit. And what we should be talking about is the right to do an audit for all citizens, regardless of party, because we want to ensure that everyone's vote counts. We don't want anyone's vote disenfranchised in this state, and it should be meaningful to everyone, regardless of party.
Last and not least, I'll ask you this. We asked Christina Caramo yesterday, who's running for Michigan Secretary of State, but the Gateway Pundit has a story out. Michigan House Oversight Chair Steve Johnson on AZ Audit said, "It's a joke, a wasted effort, a disaster. Election is over. Trump is not coming back into office." I've asked him to come on. I haven't heard back, but what do you say to folks in the legislature, specifically the Chair Johnson there, about this effort for the audit and maybe his comments there?
Well, first, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and this is going to be something I'm going to speak about today when I stand in front of the microphone. He's had every opportunity, because I've extended the invitation to him, to come and meet with me and look at the evidence. He can meet with me and my team. We'll explain the 18 reports for him piece by piece. He can look at it and make a decision after he actually reviews the evidence, but he doesn't want to do that. And the reason is because Steve Johnson is someone who I'd consider to be a never Trumper. He's never liked Donald Trump, doesn't want to see him elected. And these people would rather see the Constitution violated than to see Donald Trump reelected. And that's a big problem. They think they can fix the problems in 2022 or through additional legislation, and therefore want to refuse to look at what happened in 2000 solely because they didn't like Donald Trump.
Yeah. Antrim County Attorney Matt DePerno, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for taking the time, and of course, please keep us posted. The updates, the latest, as the folks gather today. That rally kicks off at 10. And what time will it wrap things up if people want to head to Lansing, the capital, today?
I think it should wrap up around the speaking. I think ends around 1 o'clock. And I think the affidavits will be delivered sometime shortly after that. But technically, I think the rally ends at 2.
Over 7,000 affidavits being delivered. And if you'd like to sign one and, of course, have that delivered, you can do that. Go to depernolaw.com. They're still accepting those, taking those in, as you got a wake-up call for a lot of legislators here to take a look and to really strongly consider this. It's reasonable. I think it's serious. Folks would do so. Thank you for joining us today, Attorney Matt DePerno. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Snooze Radio 1300 1069 FM. Quick break. We got the after show coming up at 10. Might be abbreviated. I've just got some word of some things that are taking place we want to make sure you know about. In the meantime, go to Get the Good News. Good newsletter, justinbarclay.com/good news. That's justinbarclay.com, so you can stay in touch on stories like this you're not hearing anywhere else, and much more. Back right after this, it's West Michigan Live.